Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Awakening Her podcast. How are you doing, my friend? Oh my goodness. Literally this moment, I just looked up at my computer, at my, everything I'm recording and all that, and it's 11:11 at this very moment. I love that. Okay, so today's episode is a powerful one, and I'm so excited to be talking about this. Right now, my energy is a little bit like excited and open and elevated because in just a couple days, my family and I are going on a cruise, which I have never been on a cruise. We are actually doing a Disney cruise with my husband's family as well. So it's going to be a big getaway and also like Disneyland on the water. I have no idea what to expect. I've been through all the emotions and I've landed in excitement. So in just a couple days from the time of recording, I will be away offline enjoying it, away from the dance schedules and these schedules and the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You get what I'm talking about, right? It's nice to just pause, and we haven't really traveled much as a family, especially in the last few years. So it's really great. I'm so excited. But other than that, that's why my energy is a little bit like, I don't know, bubbly today, if you'll call it that. And in all the packing and the checklists and all that, I really wanted to drop in with an episode that, as a creator behind the scenes, I feel like it's a little bit different. I want to talk about the ego, the inner child, and the higher self. And the reason why I think it's a little bit different is just because I often pick one topic, but I wanted to talk about something that it's almost hard to put into words, but it's about jamming out, talking about exploring the totality of who you are, and how when we walk this journey, when we want to deliberately create success and health and abundance and vitality for ourselves, it's really important to understand ourselves, right? Like, understand thyself. I hear that so much from my team, and it's just like the key in so many ways. But today I want to talk about understanding ourselves in this sort of trifecta: the ego, the inner child, and the higher self. And I think it's going to be really powerful to just explore these aspects of ourselves. I'm also going to break down in each aspect the way that I look at sort of our work here, right? Like, what is our mission? What is our assignment when it comes to the ego as a human, right? And you are obviously a spiritual or spiritually curious, awakening, self-growth human as well. So what do we do with the ego? It's kind of like breaking down the work for each of these. The inner child, what they need, what can, how this can influence who we are, and then the higher self. So I'm kind of excited. It feels a little bit different for me creatively, and I'm just excited to dive in. The only other thing I want to share is, behind the scenes, I have just opened up the doors for the retreat to the lovely seekers that have been on the wait list. And that's another really exciting thing in my energy. So my energy is just so expansive. I'm so excited for everything that's happening and going forward. And this year, 2024, also was challenging and up and down. And I took you guys through some of it. You've been hearing the journey, the spiritual flu. And in this moment, it just feels expansive. It feels like I'm breathing from my soul. And as I move into this retreat and expressing myself here on the podcast and with On the Path, it just feels dialed in. I've been creating the app. I'm finishing my book. It just all feels very big, and I'm not anxious about it. I'm not going, but how is this going to happen? Or, but what if this? Or, focusing on right now in a way of like, but I got to move forward. I've been breathing into bigger, and I've been doing my own deeper healing and lots of nervous system work in the last year. And I feel like I'm just in this really excited, expansive place. I don't know why I just went off there. Apologize for that. But I think just saying that I've opened the retreat behind the scenes for anyone that ended up getting on the wait list. And other than that, from when you hear this, within the next week or two, I will be opening it up to the public. And I am so excited. We don't have a lot of spots. So I'm curious to see how fast this is going to go and who's going to join this sacred space. And it is the in-person retreat in September 2025, happening on a smaller island off my island, Vancouver Island, on the west coast of Canada, the Pacific Northwest. We are on the ocean and in the forest. It is so healing. If you've been craving nature and community and space and rest and highest self, this is definitely for you. So watch for that. You can check the link in the show notes for anything that at the time of when you hear this, whatever state it's at, whether it's open or what, you can check the link below. flow. Okay, let's just dive into today's episode. Take a sip of water, drop your shoulders. I'm going to take my own advice, and let's dive into it. Okay, so we're going to start out deep because this is who I am. This is my role here. This is what my channel shows me. This is just, where I gravitate to. So let's start deep for a moment and zoom way out. We're going to look at your humanness and your soul in this path here and what's going on through the lens of source consciousness. And from this perspective, as it occurs to me, take what resonates, release what doesn't. As it occurs to me, you were created completely on purpose. You were not a mistake. There's nothing about you that is inherently wrong or bad. Your wiring isn't random. It's not good or bad. It's not, you're not flawed in any way. Your soul chose this human experience. And even though the human wants to be perfect, that is not the journey of the soul. It's not to be perfect. It's to evolve. It's to remember itself. And in this journey of being a human, there are these different parts of us, different layers, if you will. Even if you want to think about it very physically, like we have a physical body, right? But then we also do have an energetic field. We could call it an aura, feeling more spiritual. But even if you measure it with like an electromagnetic field, what's it called? A Hertz? No, not the Hertz measure. Anyway, you can see that every human has like a glow around them, right? Even when you see those ghost hunter people, like a human has a glow around it. It's energy. So we have different levels. And when you're on this awakening journey, on the more spiritual side, and you start to realize that you have a soul and you have this other bigger part of you. So you are a soul on a journey, and you are also a human on a journey. And depending on what resonates for me, I really do believe we've had so many lives, especially by the time you're here and you're listening to this podcast, you're definitely an old soul. So you're also a soul that's had many human journeys, right? There's so many levels to us. And that's why I want to talk today about the inner child, the ego, and the higher self, because when we look at moving forward in this human journey, making the most of it, I always say you only live once this time. So really making the most of it, awakening to your power. Yes, manifesting, yes, creating the success and all of that, but living in peace, living in joy, living expressed. If we are here for this path, if we are destined for that path, it's important to see the different components of ourselves, not just the human and like, why am I stuck in this? I'm wrong. I don't have willpower. It's like we want to really understand the layers of who we are, because from a bigger perspective, you were completely made on purpose. And these different aspects of you are important to understand so that you can integrate, so that you can evolve and then return to being aware of your wholeness, if that makes sense. So the work is not to destroy the ego. We'll get into that. And it's not to bypass the inner child. It's to bring these into harmony. It's to work them. It's to understand them. It's to integrate. So basically, first of all, just understanding that the totality of who you are is so much more than just like, I'm a human and I need to force things and I'm wrong or I'm not enough. We have to really understand ourselves. So we're first going to start with the inner child. So of course, all of these, because we're just in one episode, I'm just briefly going into them, but the inner child was the part of you in your psyche, in your memory, in your consciousness, in your brain, that was forming between the age of birth and 7, they say. So this is the part of you who was a kid, like literally you as a kid. So if you can imagine in your mind a picture of you as a kid, as a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, that is literally your inner child. You were once a child. So it's the little you. It's not really like this made up, like imagining something. It's literally you as a kid. And it was you when you needed love, when you needed safety, when you needed validation, because your brain was developing and you were a child, right? And your brain exactly was developing. And so as you experienced things, you made meaning out of them. You gathered information, you formed beliefs about what's safe, what's not, what, makes you receive love, what doesn't, and it shaped who you were. So when your needs were met or not, when you were heard or validated or not, these things made a big difference, especially at that age. You were a child, right? We all have the inner child. So the inner child has two sort of parts that don't always get talked about, like both parts don't always get talked about. The first part does the most, and that's like the wounded inner child. So those are the quote unquote bad things that happened to you, or the times when you had trauma, the times when you felt unheard, neglected, any kind of abuse. And it's that kid inside you that literally just wants love. The part of you, like a child, that just wants to be told it's all going to be okay and to be loved and to be held. So even as adults, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're 60 or you're 20, we all have an inner child. And it's that part of us that, again, to put it briefly, as trauma happens, we kind of freeze in our development, but also certain things get locked in our brain. And so going back to the inner child is where a lot of the deeper healing can happen. So our work is never to bypass or destroy. People will say like getting rid of my inner child, and they'll say that with the ego too, as we'll get to, but it's not about bypassing, it's about bringing it in. And with the inner child, they need love, they need safety, they need nurturing, they need validation, they need positive affirmation. And when your inner child starts to feel more safe, we then can express ourselves more. We have more confidence, creativity. We start to enjoy play. The inner child is, which brings me to the second part. So hang on, sorry, getting ahead of myself. The first part is the wounded part, the part literally that was traumatized, that was scared. And then there is the whole other part of the inner child, which is that play. It's fun. It's eating chicken fingers or like, pizza with your hands. It's jumping in a puddle. It's going out in the rain. Your inner child wants to like make a collage and they want to, color. The inner child is the part of you also that contains that wonder, looking up at the clouds and being like, oh, that looks like a salamander. Like your inner child is just having so much fun, going to the beach, going to Disneyland, like whatever it is. Your inner child also has that aspect. The inner child is the part that will bring you to play, to magic, to wonder. So the work really comes with the inner child is the work comes in where we allow the play and the wonder. Sometimes we got to go like take your shoes off, your socks off and put your feet in the ocean, or, just color, just enjoy, just look at the butterfly, just touch the tree moss or whatever it is, right? Smell the flowers, eat pancakes for dinner. It's like honor that inner child. When I watch The Little Mermaid, oh my goodness, my inner child is just like loving that. I want to eat popcorn and watch the Little Mermaid. So the work comes with allowing that magic and play to lead, and also reparenting is how I talk about it. And if you're a member of On the Path, there are trainings on reparenting. If you're not, I would love to see you over in that community. There are distinct trainings on how to reparent, because depending on what happened, again, your inner child is looking to feel loved, to feel included, to feel seen and heard. And that very much translates into our life now. If something happens where I'm triggered and I notice that I'm like, my feelings are hurt and I want to like slam the door and shut down and go like, it's not fair. It's totally that moment of inner child. And it's not bad. It's understanding ourselves, knowing how to give ourselves that love, because you really did have things happen. And that stuff really did cement into your brain because that's the way that the human brain works. So first, understanding the inner child, the part of you who needs love, safety, and validation, and also the part of you that wants to, have fun and play and watch a Disney movie and chill, go to the beach, have some ice cream. So next we're going to move to the ego. And I love teaching about this because and I feel like a lot of you guys, by now have heard about the ego enough that you understand, but especially when the ego talk first started coming out, like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, people were really about getting rid of the ego. And even when you think of like, oh, he's so egotistical, it's like inflated and arrogant and stuff. But the ego, when we talk about it as a part of our brain or our consciousness, it's not the enemy, it's our protector. So the ego is in our mind protecting us. So to kind of back off the inner child to be like, things really happened and they really did affect you, the ego is the one that now is like the frickin' bodyguard. It's the protection. It is terrified to fail and it wants to just like stay safe. So the ego is there to like keep equilibrium and to almost like make sure you survive, make sure you're okay. So there are lots of ways to describe the ego. And again, I'm just kind of going through each of these briefly, but it's the part of you that is sometimes hard on yourself when it's like, get out the door, like you got to be more disciplined. It can be hard on yourself. It can tell you in your mind, like you can't trust them or to close down your walls or do it yourself because it's easier to do it, yourself because nobody's going to be able to whatever. It will avoid taking risk. Like you're going to invest in yourself and it's like, oh, don't do that, And again, we want to be careful with things and mindful, but the ego will keep you where you are. It's the part of your brain that tries to keep you safe by controlling you, by fear-basing you, by comparison, by thinking that your worth is anything outside yourself and your spirit. The ego is the brain. It's the very human. So the ego, in the way that I see it, is also responsible for like problem solving and things. So we do use it. We do want to use the computer in our brain, but where we want to be aware of it is when it's starting to hold us back, when it's saying really, pardon my French, crappy, shitty things in our brain about ourselves, when it's reacting and shutting down and not letting you open up or, whatever it is, that reactive part of us, we do want to bring it into check. So really the work with the ego is about not allowing it to drive the car. We can acknowledge it, we can speak to it, and we can still make a decision from either like our heart or our intuition or just even pausing and being like, hang on, before we completely write that off or before we shut down or before we react, stop, put your hand on your heart, take a breath and be like, how do I want to handle this? Or what is in my heart or whatever, right? We don't always have to listen to it. It will be there, but the less we listen to it, the less power it gets, and it starts to feel quieter. So the ego is anytime, again, you have controlling voices in your head trying to keep you safe, the part of you that will justify avoiding risks or growth or visibility. It's the part of you that reacts, especially if your like identity is threatened or something, it really is kind of the part of you that has also like really strong opinions and stuff. But again, it's not all or nothing. It's not bad. We need the ego. We are ego. I believe that source consciousness created us on purpose. And so we have an ego, but the work, we're in this self-growth path. We're in this awakening journey. The work becomes realizing you are not your ego. You are not, the money in the bank account. You are not what other people say of you. You are not your weight or your status or anything else. There is a bigger part of you. There is the higher self. There is the spirit. So the work is realizing again that it doesn't have to drive the car, that you are more than these things. But knowing it'll come in, it'll try to protect you. And that's where the work comes in. That's where we, dive in. We use our tools. Sometimes if we're really held back, like there's something in there for us, right? So we let it ride the passenger seat. We let it be there because it is there. But we just don't let it control our journey. Because the ego 1 million times in my business has said like, nobody will do that. Who are you to blah, blah, blah. Nobody's going to buy it. You're going to look like an idiot. But like when it comes to things that are on my heart, if it's a, vision I have to complete my book or to start this podcast or to do my retreat, it's like, I just have to keep managing when the ego comes in. And that's again, why we build our tools and all of that. So The ego isn't the enemy. The ego isn't bad. You will never fully get rid of the ego. Like, that's not where the gold stars come in. It's realizing it's your protector. It's realizing it's probably the first voice to say, like, oh, don't do that because of this. Don't do that. It's really attached. But we just want to breathe through it. We want to take a second, use our tools, use our somatic practices, take a deep breath, inquire with our intuition, just pause before reacting, right? So that we can start to make a decision from a different place. It's your protector. It's going to want to avoid pain. It's going to want to always avoid discomfort. So the work is not letting it drive the car, but working with it, making a decision from a different place, which brings me to the higher self, the highest self, the source part of you, the bigger aspect of who you are as a human. So the higher self, it sometimes is kind of hard to explain the way that I see this stuff, but you have a soul, which is almost like the pure energetic part. And then you have a human skin, right? Your meat suit. And that's the very physical part of you. And the higher self gaps the two. It's the real you, but it's the real you that lives from soul, the real you that is beyond the conditioning. But in some ways they are human in the way that you have to choose, food to eat and how to exercise and how to interact with people. And, the higher self isn't just soul. It's not just energy. It's the part of you that bridges the gap. When you ask, like, what would my higher self do here? There's an aspect of humanness in it. They are not some fluffy version of you from the afterlife or something. They are the human you that has been freed. The human you who is living with intuition, who sees clearly, who is loving openly, and is, moving through on your soul's path. Does that make sense? So the higher self, again, it's not unattainable, because your higher self, I just want you to imagine yourself 6 months from now, and you've gone on the highest path. You've been using your tools. You've been taking care of yourself. You've been doing the work, whatever that looks like, taking your vitamins, taking time for yourself, and you've quantum leapt. That you in 6 months, that could be where you pull higher self inspiration from. So that version of you, again, still gets up to an alarm clock or not, still has the same mother or father, or perhaps lives in the same place. Maybe you don't live in the same place, but your life is not this totally different, unimaginable thing. Your higher self even gets triggered sometimes. They try, they still have the ego that tries to tempt them, tries to pull them in. They have good days. They have bad days. They have, they're still susceptible to the moon cycle. Like, they are you. They're just living more from soul, beyond the conditioning. So you communicate with your higher self through intuition, through gut feelings, through a sense of knowing, through subtle nudges, through a truth. So if a friend said to you, called you up today and said, hey, do you want to go out tonight? We're going to this show. It starts at midnight. We'll be out till 3 a.m. and there's going to be like music and drinks and all this stuff. Do you want to come? And you put your hand on your heart, that gut feeling, that true feeling would be your higher self. So if you haven't been out in a long time and it's actually a really good night for it, and that is exactly what you need, your higher self could tell you yes. If it's a Wednesday and you have to get up at 6 and be in the office tomorrow, or be full on parenting or something, and your gut is like, nope, that's not, my truth, that could be your higher self. Your higher self isn't perfect. Your higher self is true. It's your truth. It's the truth that resonates without logic. So even if someone's like, come on, and you're like, no, that is a hard no, your higher self is going like, nope, boundaries. But again, maybe your higher self is expanding you to be like, you know what, go out on a limb. You deserve it. Have fun. That would be self-care. then your higher self may say, yeah, go out. That would be awesome, right? So it's your truth. It's your realness. This is your soul's path. So the work with the higher self really over this lifetime, because you're a seeker, becomes creating space to hear this part of you. Through stillness, through breath, through embodiment, through quote unquote the work, self-trust, silence, nature, inquiring into your intuition, becoming more and more clear with who that version of you is. And I love to ask not just like all the positives of like the house they live in and how many millions of dollars they have, but how do they manage to look after themselves? How do they look after their body? How do they look after themselves even when life is busy? What do they do when they're starting to feel burnt out? How do they act when they have a nudge on their heart? How do they have boundaries? Like that's the stuff we really want to look at. So this higher self is the you beyond the conditioning. It's the truth of who you are on a bigger level. It's the part of you that as you develop it and as you become aware of it, has that higher consciousness, looks more through the lens of source, from a higher place, from a soul level, from a soul's path. But remember that the higher self still is you. They're not just your soul. It's the bridge in between. It's the you that gets to live from soul. And you get to have that in this lifetime because that is what you're meant for here. That's why you're drawn to the work. That's why, you've been drawn to spirituality or manifestation or even things like astrology or, the how to make the most of this lifetime. That's all the seeker's path. And this is what you're here to do in this lifetime, is create space to hear your soul, to create space and truth to live from that place, to live from that capital T truth within you. So before we wrap up, I really want to mention that you don't have to kill the ego or remove the ego to awaken. And as I said, a lot of people get that wrong. They feel like they have to get rid of this part of them or destroy any part of them, even the wounded inner child. It's about getting rid of them, but it's not. It's not about getting rid of, it's about integrating in. You don't need to silence the inner child. In fact, that's the opposite of what it needs. We truly integrate these parts of us, which means, hey, I'm feeling sad. I feel like my inner child is feeling left out with this situation that was happening. We go inside. We say to ourselves, I see you. I'm feeling left out. I'm feeling sad. I see you, and it's okay to feel that. I see you. I love you. I'm here with you now. We start to reparent. We integrate it in. The ego comes up and says, you can't do that. You're not worth this, or you'll never do it. And you say, okay, I see you. I know you're trying to protect me. I know you're trying to keep me safe, but I'm starting to choose more from higher self. I'm starting to choose more from heart. So thank you, ego, for coming in, but I'm going to choose a different path. We don't exile, we don't silence, we don't get rid of. We just start being the conductor of the show. Instead of letting this trifecta of who we are kind of run wild, we start choosing. We are the one who listens to all parts, but lets the higher self choose. This is why we are here. Truly, as a human, learning, growing. It's learning how to lead ourselves with love, with power, with higher self, with presence. That's where we manifest from. That's where we create greatness. Because at the end of the day, we want peace, we want joy, we want ease and safety and love and higher self, which includes abundance. It includes expression. It includes creativity. It includes luxury, if that's what you want, or health or vitality. It includes it all. So that is why you're here, is not perfection, but presence, integration. And each part of you serves a sacred role. The inner child keeps you in play, keeps you soft, keeps you open and deeply healing. The ego tries to protect you and also teaches you and shows you where there is work to be done, where you're afraid, where fear comes up. The ego is a powerful teacher. And the higher self will always lead you back to your truth, back to your highest path. Yes, through the growth. It will take you through growth, but it will always lead you to that highest outcome. And when we learn how to honor all three, how to work with the spirit and the human, we truly do become unstoppable. We grow, we leap, we really move forward on a soul level and a human level. So I am so excited that you listened to all this. Thank you so much for listening. If you feel called to continue to activate that higher self, I definitely recommend the retreat. And also if you're looking for something a little bit more bite-size, On the Path is a beautiful community where we do that. Bite-size education, weekly practices, deep dives. It's really just keeping you on your path to your highest self and to everything that you are meant for. Okay, I will see you in the next recording. Hey, thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I really hope that it served you. So before you go, I want to share something with you. If you're loving these conversations about self-growth and healing and moving forward, and you're really ready for more tools, more implementation, more integration, more structure, more what do I do? I invite you over to On the Path. This is my only private community, and honestly, it's the place to be if you want to integrate, if you want to deepen your journey and you find my work helpful. Here's the vibe: bite-sized practices, ongoing support, deep dive episodes, weekly practices, monthly challenges, literally just keeping you on your path, showing up for yourself day by day, week by week, month by month. So this is where you really put it into action, and I've got your back with these assignments, tools, practices, shifts, deep dives, meditations, journal prompts, and literally everything you could need to carve out your unique journey of self-growth, self-healing, and transformation. So I'm not going to go on and on. If you feel called, you feel called. And if you check below, because you made it all the way to the end of this, you'll find a link to join On the Path for the first month for only $11. So after that, it's just $27 a month and you can go at any time. Okay, my love, I genuinely hope this episode lit you up, and I can't wait to welcome you over to On the Path, and I cannot wait to see you also in the next episode. Thanks so much and have a great day.